everyone, welcome to this update video this morning. I hope you're doing really well, and so we're getting straight to what is going on in the tropics. We can see here that a new disturbance is marked. Now this is not surprising because models have been sniffing at another system behind the invest area out there in the Atlantic that's moving towards the Caribbean. So I even showed that in my morning updates yesterday, where GFS is anticipating another area of low pressure, maybe another storm making its way to the Caribbean. So it seems as though this is going to be a back-to-back scenario. And I mean, for the month of, well, closing June, go into July, this is something that is just not usual. It's not typical, and it shows how conducive conditions are already. And so for this to be happening, and then we're not even ready to be in the peak of the hurricane season, I can just imagine how active it is going to be at that time. But let's focus on the now. So first, just want to get Invest 94L out of the way. So that is the disturbance in the Northwest Caribbean. So it still has a low chance of development, 30% chance it is producing an area of lots of showers and thunderstorms. And this is what the satellite imagery was looking like earlier this morning. So we can see lots of showers, thunderstorms around for parts of Central America and the Northwest Caribbean as well, near the Cayman Islands, Cuba. So there's been some activity around there, and a lot of the convection has dissipated because it was looking a lot more impressive earlier yesterday in the morning. So there's been some rain around in some areas, and this is going to be drifting to the southern Gulf, where it may try to develop, although models are not showing too much in terms of that. But nonetheless, it's going to be continuing to enhance the rain across parts of Central America and could even result in flooding. So that is going to be the concern with that system. A bit of activity in parts of the Bahamas as well, and northern South America. For most of the Eastern Caribbean, it's been on the dusty side with all that dust around, and there hasn't been a whole lot of rain. But there is that system which will be moving in as we're going to be kickstarting the new week. And then look at Africa, another big tropical wave about to make its way off. Now, here we have our two areas to watch in the main development region. So I don't know if you guys remember tropical storms Brett and Cindy last year, but this is just really reminiscent of that. They were in the month of June as well. However, these are two completely different systems here with different conditions. No two are the same, so let's get straight into it. Here we can see that the National Hurricane Center gives Invest 95L a 90% chance of development. So I'm pretty confident that by tomorrow, we could see this being designated as maybe a tropical depression or storm, who knows? And we will also see watches and eventually warnings being posted for parts of the Caribbean. And for now, it seems as though those tropical storm warnings, potentially a hurricane watch, could be in effect for the windward islands of the Caribbean. We'll have to wait and see. So the system is going to continue making its way towards the west, and it is in an environment favorable to allow for some strengthening. So it is going to be approaching. We'll be looking at what models are forecasting in a second. But then go into this newly marked area to the south-southwest of the Cabo Verde Islands. We can see that it is given a 20% chance of development. So the chance is going to be low because it's newly identified, but models have been sniffing at it developing. So we could see a back-to-back scenario, storm after storm, for the Eastern Caribbean islands. Definitely not something that we would be looking forward to, but it seems as though that is going to be the outcome as we're going to be heading into the coming days. So now let's go ahead and talk about the models. But before we go back to these systems, let's look at the short term for the Caribbean. So this is the rainfall forecast. And as the map becomes more colorful, that is indicative of more rainfall. So in association with Invest 94L in the Northwest Caribbean, there could be some additional heavy rain around for some areas, parts of Central America, even the Cayman Islands as well. A few spots in Jamaica may experience some additional showers, and even western and parts of central Cuba as well. So as the disturbance loiters with all that moisture, all that activity, it is going to be helping to enhance the rain. There could also be some additional downpours in parts of Florida and the Bahamas. Turks and Caicos Islands may be on the drier side though. Then for Hispaniola, Puerto Rico, throughout the Lesser Antilles, there could be a couple spots experiencing some showers and thunderstorm activity. ABC Islands may be on the drier side, but a brief shower or so is possible today. And then northern South America for Colombia, parts of Venezuela, Guyana, and northern Suriname may experience some rainfall activity. Some places may get some heavy downpours and thunderstorms as well. Now, in terms of the disturbances, let's go back to them. We're going to be looking at what the models are expecting. So first up, we have the model track guidance, and this is for 95L. So the disturbance given that very high chance to develop, which is likely to become our next named storm within another 1 to 2 days. So here we can see that the tracks still are, in agreement. They're so tightly packed with that general west to west northwest track anticipated of the system. So again, it seems as though the Windward Islands could potentially experience the worst of the system. But as I've said in yesterday's updates, I'm going to reiterate it again. This doesn't show the size of it. So even though, yes, the center may move through the Windward Islands, areas further to the north may experience impacts, and the main concern with any tropical system is the water, whether it be from the heavy rain or the storm surge, which causes the coastal flooding. So afterwards, though, the system is likely to continue moving on a general west-northwest or northwest track and could make its way to the vicinity of the Greater Antilles, especially Jamaica. So Jamaica should be on watch for this for the middle of next week. We could potentially have impacts if what we're seeing here comes to fruition, but it is important to note that there can be changes. Let's head on to the model intensity guidance. Here we can see the different shadings. We have tropical storm highlighted in green, category 1 hurricane in yellow, cat 2 in orange, cat 3 in red, and cat 4 in purple. Now, as of the latest update, we can see that almost every single model expects that 95L will attain hurricane status, and we see quite a few expecting major hurricane status. And a major hurricane is basically a category 3, 4, or 5 hurricanes. So we can see that a decent amount of these available models are expecting that it will acquire hurricane status. Now, that is not impossible. As I've mentioned at the start of the video, the system is going to be, it is in a favorable environment, hence that chance has been rising so much. Now, as for the second disturbance behind it, so that one has not been designated as an invest. It's newly identified, so we're not going to see a whole lot with it for now. But as time goes by, I definitely think that it will have a shot at development as well. So this pair of systems will be making their way to the Caribbean, taking on a similar track. So that new disturbance is likely to follow a trajectory similar to what 95L will follow over the course of the coming days. And so guys, with the knowledge of both of these systems, especially for 95L, which is likely to become a storm very shortly, it is good that, preparations are being done. And as I said, I'm expecting a tropical storm watch to be issued very soon, so the Windward Islands will likely experience the worst of this. I'm talking Martinique southward through Grenada, including Barbados. Some of the rains could even affect Trinidad and Tobago as well, but it will all be dependent on the structure of the system. The more activities associated with it, the larger it is, more areas will be impacted. But if we're talking about a more compact system, then the impacts would be a bit limited. So as it relates to that, though, if you're in the Windward Islands, as I was saying, it's good to ensure that you have those preparations in place, because we're talking about the storm surge, the coastal flooding, the heavy rain, which is going to be triggering flooding, and even those mudslides and those strong winds, which will result in power outages across some areas, coupled with those downed trees, damage to weak structures, things like that. That is going to be the likely story as we head into next week. So the timing is going to be around Monday for Invest 95L. And then not long after, mere days later, we could see another system potentially trying to develop into something, maybe a tropical storm at that point. Who knows? So it's going to be a sort of back-to-back scenario. And even if it doesn't become a tropical storm, if it is a strong tropical wave sustaining enough activity, it could result in tropical storm-like impacts. And I mean, after 95L would have moved through the area, it's likely that the soil for many spots would be very saturated. So that would just escalate things again. So if you're in the Windward Islands of the Caribbean, guys, please please, I do urge you to prepare. And then for the long term, areas such as Jamaica should be keeping watch. I'm not saying it's going to hit us as a storm or hurricane. I'm not saying that, but based on the model projections and the consistency since yesterday, it seems as though we could be in for impacts, although it is not a guarantee just yet, not as of right now. But I'm here to keep you posted. I'll be giving another updates later today, but that is basically it for now. So I do hope you found this video to be informative, and if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments. I'll respond when I can, and remember to always be weather-wise.